In December 11 of 2018, a video game came out to Steam named Blade Sorcery, an early access VR game, and quickly became one of the best VR games to ever exist. In June 8th, the trailer for the End update, marking the end of the early access phase of this game, came out, and in June 17th of the same year, the update came out. Today, we're gonna talk about that update. Hi everyone, I'm Jim Pass, and today we're gonna talk about, as I said before, about the new update for Blade Sorcery called The End. To start off, what is Blade Sorcery? Well, the game is basically a sandbox game to where you can be there and just fight against a bunch of guys. It's really fun. It's a really fun game to just lose a couple of hours in. Well, minutes, because when you're in VR, it really is difficult to be hours on end playing that type of game. But yeah, the game is just a sandbox game where you can choose who to fight and you fight them. It's really fun. And because of that openness, the game became really popular with mods, having a ton of mods, being one of the most games with mods in Nexus. So yeah, after a bunch of years of updates and updates and updates, finally the End update came out, being a full release of the game, having a sandbox part of everything, and a story mode, let's call it, called Crystal Hunt. The game starts off really simple. You just start and there's a tutorial, and then you find a crystal, and that crystal gives you powers. Basically, you can just move, have telekinesis, and yeah, that's the basis, the first part of the game. Then you go out and find a lot of things you can find. Basically, like, it shows you how to use weapons and everything. If you have played the game before, it really is not, it isn't bad, but it does shows you how the game has improved. I play a lot of it, so it was really like not really noticeable, but you notice that there's a little bit of different things going on. After you finish the tutorial, you can go to this place where a pirate lives. I believe he's a pirate, but he sells you weapons and everything, and you have a lot of money, and it gives you a roadmap of where you need to go to get more money and more crystals. So yeah, that's basically the central of the story. It's a crystal hunt, as the name suggests. The levels are basically like randomly generated, which has a lot of potential to just repeat and repeat and repeat, and it's a fun game, the dungeon parts of it. Something that I found really cool with it was the climbing mechanic. The climbing mechanic is really cool because you can really feel like you have to know where you're putting your hand in. There's a lot of different games in VR. It's one of the popular type of games that you can find, which is just climbing. And those are great, but they have something that makes it a little bit different of what real climbing is. I don't know a lot of climbing really, but what I know about it, it does feel a little bit different. Something that the Blade Sorcery game, I believe, is like a little bit not on purpose, does really great. It makes you feel like you have to know where to climb. The enemies, fighting the enemies, it's weird. It's great, it feels great, but there's weak, very weak, which is really good. I mean, it's fun, and when there are a lot of enemies in, it is really difficult. But other than that, in a 1v1, it's just something that ends in like under a minute. And that can be a little bit frustrating because you don't feel a lot of challenge in it. Of course, when the levels are more difficult, the enemies does feel a little bit more difficult. But even then, it's just like instead of under a minute, it's just a minute flat. So yeah, one nice thing that it has is that all your powers that you have in the sandbox part of the game, which is a fire, telekinesis, like gravity, and thunder, if I believe correctly, those are locked, story locked. You need to keep playing to upgrade it and find them and upgrade it. And I believe, I haven't played a lot, but what I played, I really liked that part. Even if you have a power, you can still upgrade it with the skill tree, that those parts are upgradable with the crystals you found at the end of the levels. Which again, I like how that cycle that it has. It is a little bit repetitive and grinding, but I like how it is, really. I believe it's the greatest time as any to talk about how violent this game is. It really is violent. It is a lot of like the parts that became really popular about this game, of how violent it is. I repeat this word a lot, but because I can't emphasize enough how violent this game is. Being a sandbox physics-based game. The ragdolls, well, the dolls, the enemies, really feel like you kill them. You kill them, they go flat. Their body just is like a doll, a rag doll. Even you can move it, you can do a lot of stuff with it. You can impale it, you can chop their limbs off. It's brutal, and it's also a little bit fun. Like when you're in the mood to play that type of games, and you're in and in and in, and you kill and kill and kill, it becomes really fun until you go for a moment. You're like, oh fuck, this is really violent. I shouldn't be doing this. But it's a game. At the end of the game, this type of games, if we start moralizing it, we'll go to the same path the people that say that video games makes you violent, which is a topic for another day. But yeah, the game is violent but fun. When there's parts of the crystal hunt where people are attacking you, that type of violence really lets you to have a little bit more of wiggle room of how violent you can be, because there's people attacking you. You have to survive, you have to protect yourself. You're not going to be like in the sandbox version, for example, that you can go all out. You have limited resources, you have a limited life, you have limited everything, so you have to be careful. You have to fight, you have to combat the enemies, and still live, basically. So yeah, the game is violent, a little bit violent, but I wouldn't say it's a bad thing. It really emphasizes the part of the crystal hunt where you have to survive the enemies and everything. I played this game for around 3 days before I started recording this video. By the third day, my expectations were low. I became a little bit tired about the grinding, and as long as I knew it was like a little bit of a burnout of the same. Of course, I die sometimes, so that's a bad thing though. When you die, you go to the start of the level, which when you're in BR, which can become really hot in this time of year and everything. Even if you have like AC, it's still really hot, especially in the area I live in. So I can play for just like 30 minutes or 40 minutes tops. So yeah, I entered the third day with my expectations low. It was really cool. I started upgrading my gear little bit by little bit, and kept playing dungeon after dungeon until something weird happened. I entered a boss dungeon. The boss dungeon was really different. It felt cinematic, like I'm entering the final boss of a game. I don't know if it's the final boss really, but yeah, it was really pretty. It felt like a labyrinth and everything, and it just a lot of parts to explore. The gear of my enemy was better than mine, so I robbed it to have a better advantages to the enemy. I kept going through the level. I started looking at a really creative ways to immerse yourself in it. The rope and everything, it was great. And then it happens. You reach the end of the level, and you enter an area so light. All the level was dark and gloomy and everything, but then you enter a light area with a lot of sunlight. You go there, it looks like a coliseum or something, but then the pillar in the center starts moving, and it reveals itself to be a monster. Of course, you go into position to start the fight. There's some gear around to help you out. You gain in position, and the monster it's bigger than you. It's stronger than you, and you feel fear. You feel that fear, of course. That you feel so powerless. You see, of course, that there's some purple things, crystals that you've seen before in the level that you can break, and you try to break them. But then you see that another one shows up in a different area. You can't go in. You want to climb that monster, but when the monster moves, you feel powerless again. It was the first time in a VR game that I known that I was being moved by something that I didn't control. I really feel like I was in a roller coaster, that I had an enemy that was in all the ways more powerful than me, and it felt really great. When you found an enemy, when you find an enemy that's more powerful than you, you became this type of person that you want to beat them, you want to succeed against them. Because why would they win? Why would they be an obstacle to your goal? So I tried, and I tried to reach that gem, and I break that gem, and I found another gem that I had to break, and I tried to break that gem, and then I died. Of course I will die. It was my first try. I am not like a pro at video games, so of course I died. I was frustrated, of course. Had to start at the beginning of the level, but I tried to go a little bit. But then, like I said before, the headset became really hot and you have to just stop. But it got me thinking, that's a really great boss design. One that really makes you feel powerless, that you need to go again and try it again to really defeat it. He's an enemy, he's your enemy, and you have to defeat it. What's the reward after that? I don't know, I haven't played it. But yeah, I will say that it's possibly the peak of this game. With all the mods, with all the things that you can see, do the sandbox levels, the whole new community that you can find, the whole new levels and environments and everything, all of that, to just have this, be better at it. I will 100% say that this is the best part of all the game, and with everything around, it just magnifies it. Like all the stories that you found in the game and everything, it really comes to a peak in there. And I will tell you, I will try again. I will try again to defeat that monster, and I will make a video afterwards when I finally finish the game. But then, I will tell you right now, this is possibly the best VR game to have. Not the best VR game in general, but to have. You have to own it. If you get a VR headset, fucking buy the game immediately. So that's all I have to say about Blade Sorcery. Again, it is a really great game. And to end things off, if you make it to the end of the video, you will help me a lot by subscribing and giving a like and comment and everything. It really helps a lot, like moral way. So this is all. I'm Jem Pass, and thank you so much, and goodbye.